Jake Torres was elbow-deep in a malfunctioning food synthesizer when he felt the tap on his shoulder. Well, not exactly a tap. More like 5 simultaneous taps, because the kid had 5 tentacles, and apparently hadn't learned about personal space yet. "Excuse me, Mr. Human?" The voice was high-pitched and curious, the kind of tone that usually preceded a question adults didn't want to answer. Jake pulled his head out of the machine, wiping synthesized pasta sauce off his cheek. Standing beside him was Pip, a young Fluvian who looked like someone had crossed a purple octopus with a teddy bear and given it dinner plate-sized eyes. The kid was staring at Jake's arm with the intensity of a detective who'd just found a crucial clue. "Yeah, little dude?" Jake asked, grabbing his water bottle. The station's environmental systems kept things comfortable for the 73 different species aboard, which meant it was always slightly too humid for Jake's taste. "What's under your sleeve?" Pip pointed at Jake's rolled-down uniform sleeve with 2 tentacles, while the other 3 wiggled with barely contained excitement. Jake glanced at his arm, then back at the kid. My arm? No. Pip bounced on their lower tentacles. "The pictures! I saw them when you were reaching into the machine. You have pictures under your clothes." "Oh, right. The tattoos." Before Jake could answer, a shadow fell over both of them. Velna, Pip's parent, descended from wherever diplomatic types went during their off hours. She was Moth-class Brevian, which meant she looked like someone had designed an elegant Victorian lady and decided she needed wings and antennae. Her compound eyes gleamed with parental embarrassment. "Pip, we discussed this. You can't just ask people about their physical characteristics." Velna's translator box rendered her clicking sounds into apologetic standard galactic. "I'm so sorry, Engineer Torres. They're at that age where everything is fascinating and boundaries are optional." "No worries," Jake said, making a decision that he would regret in approximately 4 minutes. "Kid's just curious." He set down his tools and rolled up his right sleeve, revealing an arm that looked like a canvas where art, memory, and poor decisions in his early 20s had thrown a party. Dragons coiled around geometric patterns. A compass rose pointed toward a ship's anchor. Waves crashed into a phoenix rising from flames. Scattered between the larger pieces were stars, quotes in various languages, and a tiny, terrible stick figure that his buddy Drew had doodled during a drunken bet, and Jake had loved enough to make permanent. Pip's eyes went even wider, which Jake hadn't thought was physically possible. "Whoa. Yeah, whoa," Jake agreed, admiring his own arm like he was seeing it for the first time. "Pretty cool, right?" "What are they?" Pip reached out tentatively, stopping just short of touching. Are they scars?" "Pip." Velna's antennae stood straight up with alarm. "Kind of," Jake said, because he was apparently committed to being the worst possible influence. "They're tattoos, permanent pictures we put on our skin." "Why?" Pip asked, which was a fair question that Jake had never really answered satisfactorily for himself. Jake grinned. "Well, that's a story, kid." Velna wrapped a wing around Pip, already pulling them back. "We really should let Engineer Torres return to his work." "Come along, Pip. But I want to know about the dragon," Pip protested, still staring at Jake's arm as they were tugged away. "And the Firebird!" "And why does he have a circle with arrows?" "Maybe another time," Velna said firmly, nodding apologetically at Jake as she guided her kid toward the corridor exit. Jake watched them go, chuckling to himself. Cute kid, curious. He rolled his sleeve back down and turned back to the food synthesizer, which was still blinking angry red lights at him. He just reconnected the flavor modulation circuit when he noticed them. 3 aliens, different species, all standing a respectful distance away, all staring at his arm. Word traveled fast on Galactic Harmony Station, apparently. This was going to be interesting. By the time Jake finished fixing the synthesizer, the crowd had doubled, then tripled. Apparently, a human with mysterious markings was more entertaining than whatever passed for entertainment on a Thursday afternoon in Sector 7. Jake straightened up, wiped his hands on his work pants, and turned to face his audience. 12 aliens. 12 very different aliens, all trying to look casual while blatantly staring at him. Hi," Jake offered, giving a little wave. A massive figure pushed through the crowd. Kronk was a Voranthi, built like someone had asked a bodybuilder to cosplay as a dinosaur, and then added extra muscles for good measure. His species valued honor, combat prowess, and apparently, standing way too close during conversations. "Human," Kronk rumbled, his translator struggling with the depth of his voice. "Show us your battle scars." "My, what now?" "The young Fluvian speaks of markings beneath your covering." "Victory marks, yes?" Kronk crossed his 4 arms, which Jake had learned meant either respect or a prelude to violence. With Kronk, it was 50-50. How many enemies have fallen before you? Oh, for the love of Captain Rin materialized from somewhere in the back. Her reptilian face set in an expression Jake had come to know as perpetual exasperation. She was saurian, which meant she looked like a velociraptor had gone to business school and developed an ulcer. Torres, what did you do? I fixed the synthesizer, Jake offered. You know what I mean. Before Jake could defend himself, a blob of translucent teal anxiety squeezed through the crowd. Doctor? Filbert was the station's medical officer, a gelation whose entire body served as a mood ring for his neuroses. Right now, he was pulsing with concerned chartreuse spots. Are those disease markers? Filbert's voice came from somewhere inside his mass, panicked and watery. Captain, we need to quarantine this section immediately. If the human is displaying symptoms of, they're not disease markers, Jake interrupted. Then what are they? This came from a crystalline engineer, Jake recognized from the propulsion department. Her name was something with 17 syllables, so everyone called her Crystal. Her faceted body refracted light in a way that gave Jake a headache if he looked directly at her. Species identification patterns? Tribal affiliations? Rank insignias, suggested a four-armed Pentarian. Mating availability signals, offered someone from the back, which made Jake deeply uncomfortable. Temperature regulation vents, theorized a creature Jake couldn't even classify. Captain Rin held up one clawed hand. Everyone shut up. Torres, sleeve. Now. Jake looked at the crowd, looked at his captain, looked at Kronk, who had somehow gotten even closer and was breathing down at him with what smelled like fermented meat breath. And Jake, who had never been accused of making good decisions, decided to have some fun. You really want to know? He asked, his voice dropping to something almost serious. The crowd leaned in collectively. Jake rolled up his sleeve with deliberate slowness, revealing the full canvas of his arm. These aren't just pictures, folks. Each one represents something I survived. Dr. Filbert's spots turned crimson. I knew it. Medical emergency. Not that kind of survival, Jake said quickly, before Filbert could initiate some kind of lockdown protocol. I mean fights, challenges, tests of strength and will. That wasn't technically a lie. His first tattoo had been after surviving his freshman year of college, which was definitely a test of something. Kronk's eyes widened with respect. Trials by combat? Sure, let's go with that. Captain Rin pinched the bridge of her snout. Torres, I swear to the 7 moons. This dragon here? Jake pointed to the serpentine creature coiling around his forearm. Fought one of these back on Earth, no weapons, just me, my wits, and a lot of screaming. The crowd gasped. Kronk actually took a step back. It was a Tuesday afternoon, Jake added, because if you're going to commit to a bit, you might as well commit. Humans fight dragons? Crystal's voice climbed several octaves. As a recreational activity? I mean, not every Tuesday, Jake said. That would be exhausting. A new voice piped up from the crowd. What about the circle with arrows? Pip had apparently escaped from Velna and wriggled back to the front, eyes huge with fascination. Jake looked at his compass rose tattoo. Oh, this? Navigated a death maze using only my sense of smell. Took 3 days. Nearly starved. Death maze? Doctor. Filbert was now stroking out in colors Jake didn't have names for. Pretty standard Earth survival training, Jake said with a straight face that would make a poker player weep with envy. We all do it around age 16. Barbaric, Velna whispered, having pushed through the crowd to retrieve Pip. But she didn't leave. She stayed, staring at Jake's arm with horrified fascination. And these? Kronk pointed at the tribal patterns wrapping around Jake's bicep. Jake flexed slightly. Each line represents a bone that broke and healed wrong. Lost count after 37. 37 broken bones? Doctor. Filbert actually wobbled. Give or take, some were pretty small bones. Captain Rin stepped closer, her eyes narrowed. Torres, tell them the truth. Jake met her gaze. She knew. Of course she knew. But she couldn't prove it. And they both knew that too. He grinned. I am telling the truth, Captain. Every single one of these marks represents something I survived. Which was technically accurate. He'd survived the hangover after getting the dragon. He'd survived his ex-girlfriend's reaction to the impulse anchor tattoo. He'd survived his mother's disappointment over the tribal patterns. Survival took many forms. The crowd pressed closer, and Jake realized his little joke had taken on a life of its own. Someone in the back was recording. A maintenance prank had just become station-wide entertainment. Captain Rin's translator picked up her long, suffering sigh. I'm putting this in your personnel file. Make sure you spell Dragon Slayer correctly, Jake replied. Kronk placed one massive hand on Jake's shoulder with surprising gentleness. You are a warrior worthy of respect, human Jake Torres. I was wrong to doubt your species. Aw, thanks, big guy. If humans survive such trials as younglings, Kronk continued, his voice full of admiration, perhaps the stories of Earth being a death world are not exaggerated after all. Jake opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Oh no, Captain Rin muttered. Oh yes, Jake whispered back, his grin widening. This was going to be so much fun. Jake had an audience now, and he was going to make it count. See, the thing about Earth, he said, shifting his weight into full storytelling mode, is that it's not trying to kill you. It's just that survival is more of a suggestion than a guarantee. He pointed to the dragon again, tracing its scales with his finger. This beauty, 12 feet long, breathing actual fire, cornered me in what we call a grocery store. That's a resource distribution center, but with fluorescent lighting and muzak. What is muzak? Asked a small Chirelian who'd climbed onto Crystal's shoulder for a better view. Psychological warfare, Jake said without missing a beat. Anyway, the dragon had me backed against the frozen food section. That's where we keep our edibles at sub-zero temperatures. For fun. Doctor. Filbert made a strangled sound. You store food at lethal temperatures? Only some of it. We like variety. Jake rolled his shoulder, making the dragon ripple. So there I am, armed with nothing but a shopping cart and my sparkling marm, personality. The dragon lunges, I dodge left, grab a frozen turkey that's a earth bird, weighs about 20 pounds and I just start swinging. You defeated a dragon with a frozen bird? Kronk's voice was hushed with reverence. Knocked 3 of its teeth out before security showed up. Jake nodded solemnly. They banned me from that grocery store, but you know what? Worth it. Captain Rin made a sound like a tire deflating. There are no dragons on Earth. Not anymore, Jake said meaningfully. We got pretty good at the whole survival thing. Pip wriggled with excitement. What about the Firebird? Did you fight that too? Jake examined his phoenix tattoo. The flames rendered in orange and red ink that had hurt like hell when his artist went over the sensitive inner arm. This one's trickier. See, phoenixes don't technically want to fight you. They just want to die and be reborn in a blaze of glory. Problem is, they're not picky about where that happens. Oh no, Velna whispered. Oh yes, Jake confirmed. This one decided my apartment was a great place for its rebirth cycle. That's my personal dwelling unit. Burst into flames at 3 in the morning. The phoenix, not the apartment. Well, eventually the apartment too. You survived a fire? Crystal's facets were refracting light in what might have been panic. Barely. Had to jump out a second-story window. Broke my left ankle, hence these 3 lines here. Jake pointed to part of the tribal pattern that actually covered a scar from a skateboarding incident when he was 15. But I grabbed the phoenix egg on my way down. You don't waste protein in a survival situation. You ate a phoenix egg? Dr. Filbert had gone completely transparent, which couldn't be a good sign. Scrambled it the next morning. Tasted like chicken and regret. A new alien pushed to the front of the crowd. A 10th-R administrator whose purple bureaucratic robes marked her as someone important. I'm filing an incident report about this. Humans clearly pose a significant danger to station infrastructure if they're accustomed to— Hold up, Jake interrupted, raising a hand. I'm not dangerous. I'm experienced. There's a difference. Explain, Kronk demanded. Jake pointed to his compass rose. This represents the time I navigated the Detroit subway system at 2 a.m. without a map or working phone. What is a subway? Asked the Chirelian. Underground transit tunnels, beneath the surface, where the sun doesn't reach and the local fauna has evolved without natural predators. Underground fauna. Doctor. Filbert was cycling through colors Jake was pretty sure weren't supposed to exist. Mostly rats. That's like, how do I explain rats? Imagine a small furry creature with a naked tail and the survival instincts of a tank. They can eat almost anything, survive almost anywhere, and they're not impressed by humans. You navigated hostile underground tunnels filled with armored creatures using only scent? Kronk was taking notes on a datapad. Actual notes. The smell was definitely a navigational aid, Jake said, which was accurate if misleading. Took 6 hours. Nearly missed my friend's birthday party. That's a social gathering we have to celebrate, not dying for another year. You celebrate survival annually? Velna's antennae were quivering. Yep. With cake? That's a sweet food that's technically poison if you eat too much of it. But we do it anyway because it tastes good. The crowd was silent, processing this. Jake was on a roll now. He pointed to his anchor tattoo. This one? Nearly drowned 7 times. Stopped counting after that. 7? Multiple voices shouted at once. Water sports are very popular on Earth. Swimming, surfing, that thing where you strap wooden planks to your feet and let a boat drag you around. We do it for entertainment. You voluntarily enter lethal amounts of water? Crystal sounded faint. I mean, it's only lethal if you do it wrong. And I only did it wrong. 7 times. That we're counting. There might have been more. Captain Rin stepped directly in front of Jake, blocking his view of the crowd. Her reptilian eyes were narrowed to slits. Torres, stop. Stop what? I'm just sharing cultural information. You're terrifying the entire station. Am I, though? Because Kronk looks pretty pumped. Pumped? Kronk roared. I am honored to serve alongside such a warrior. See? Cultural exchange at its finest. Captain Rin opened her mouth to respond when the crowd parted like a starship through an asteroid field. Administrator Grix strode through, her 6 legs clicking against the deck, plating with bureaucratic menace. She was arachnoid class, which meant she looked like a spider wearing business casual and carrying a clipboard. Engineer Torres, Grix said, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence. I'm going to need you to come with me. Am I in trouble? That depends entirely on whether humans are classified as a dangerous species under Galactic Harmony Station regulations. And based on what I'm hearing, we're going to need to update some forms. I love paperwork, Jake deadpanned. What about the butterfly? Pip's voice rang out. You didn't tell us about the tiny butterfly. Jake looked down at his wrist, where a small monarch butterfly sat between the larger pieces, its wings spread in eternal flight. That one had been Amy's idea, matching tattoos after they'd survived their first year working in space together. That one, Jake said slowly, his grin returning full force, is the most dangerous creature on Earth. Dr. Filbert collapsed into a quivering puddle. It's so small, Pip whispered. Size means nothing. We have a saying on Earth. It's not about the size of the creature in the fight, it's about the size of the fight in the creature. This butterfly survived a migration of over 3,000 miles, used toxins as a defense mechanism, could fly through storms that would ground our aircraft. Impossible, breathed Crystal. And I fought one? Jake shook his head slowly. Nah, I ran. Learned that day that sometimes survival means knowing when you're outmatched. The human shows wisdom. Kronk nodded approvingly. Administrator Grix made a clicking sound that her translator rendered as intense frustration. Conference room. Now. We need to discuss whether you require a special dangerous species designation. Can I finish my shift first? The synthesizer in Sector 9 is making concerning noises. Fine. But after that, my office. And bring documentation of every survival incident you claim. Jake watched her scuttle away, then turned back to his audience with his biggest grin yet. So, anyone got questions? Approximately 47 hands, tentacles, and appendages shot into the air. Captain Rin just walked away, muttering something about early retirement. This was the best Thursday ever. By hour 3 of what Jake was now calling the Great Tattoo Exposition, things had escalated significantly. Someone had set up a holographic recording device. Someone else had brought snacks. Kronk had appointed himself as Jake's personal honor guard, which was both touching and made it really hard to get to the bathroom. And then Chancellor Morp arrived. You always knew when Chancellor Morp was approaching because the temperature in the room seemed to drop from his sheer disapproval of everything. He was a Varian class, which meant he looked like a peacock had merged with a condor and then gone to law school. His feathers were immaculate, his beak was sharp, and his patience for nonsense was non-existent. What? Morp said, his translator dripping with disdain, is the meaning of this gathering? The crowd parted. Jake gave a little wave from the center. Hey, Chancellor, just having a cultural exchange moment. A cultural exchange that has paralyzed productivity in 3 sectors, caused a medical emergency, and generated 17 formal complaints about disturbing the peace? 17? Wow, that's actually fewer than I expected. Morp's feathers ruffled, which was never a good sign. Engineer Torres, I am formally requesting a complete explanation of these alleged survival markings, and an inquiry into whether humans pose a danger to this station's safety protocols. They're just tattoos, Chancellor. Just tattoos that represent battles with dragons, phoenix immolations, underground predator encounters, and multiple near-drowning incidents. Morp pulled out a datapad. I have a list, a very long list. Someone has been live-streaming this across the sector. Oh no, Jake said, not sounding sorry at all. Oh yes. The Galactic Science Council is now demanding information about Earth's classification as a death world. The tourism board is having a panic attack. And I have 3 news agencies asking for interviews with the survivor human. Jake's eyes lit up. News agencies? Don't even think about it. I'm thinking about it. A holographic projection flickered to life above the crowd. A reporter, some kind of energy being that looked like a sentient light show, materialized with a camera drone hovering nearby. This is Luminara Bright with Galactic News Network, coming to you live from Harmony Station, where we've discovered a human covered in what appears to be a comprehensive record of survivable traumas. Sir, can you tell our viewers about the marking that resembles a sea creature? Jake looked at his octopus tattoo, which he'd gotten because he thought octopi were cool, and also he'd been dating a marine biologist at the time. Oh, this? Yeah, fought a kraken off the coast of Norway. A kraken? Luminara's light pulsed with excitement. For our viewers, that's a massive tentacled predator from Earth's oceans, measuring up to 40 feet. Yeah, this one was bigger though, maybe 60. Hard to measure when you're underwater and it's trying to drown you. Captain Rin reappeared from wherever she'd been hiding, probably filing retirement paperwork. Torres, I am begging you to stop talking. Can't stop, won't stop, Captain. Journalistic integrity and all that. Morp's beak clicked sharply. This interview is unauthorized. Luminara, you don't have a press permit for this station. Freedom of information, Chancellor. The galaxy has a right to know about Earth's survival rates. Our survival rates are fine, Jake protested. We've got like a 75% chance of making it to adulthood, which is pretty good considering 75%? The crowd erupted. Oh, come on, that's if you include all the stupid stuff we do. If you're careful and boring, it's way higher. Dr. Filbert, who had somehow reconstituted himself, burbled from the floor. What constitutes stupid stuff? Jake counted on his fingers. Extreme sports, eating questionable gas station food, texting while driving, that thing where you climb mountains for fun, swimming in Australia, existing in Australia generally, fighting swans. Swans? Pip asked. Large aquatic birds, very aggressive. Broken my friend's arm once. We still have them in parks because we apparently enjoy danger. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Morp said, his feathers now fully puffed in agitation. Human behavioral patterns suggest a species-wide disregard for self-preservation. I'm calling for a formal safety review. Based on what? My tattoos? Based on the fact that you've admitted to surviving encounters with multiple apex predators, environmental disasters, and what you're calling fun activities that would kill most sentient species. To be fair, Jake said, holding up a finger, I said nearly drowned 7 times. The key word is nearly. That doesn't make it better. Makes it better than actually drowning 7 times, though. That would be impossible. Kronk nodded sagely. The human makes a valid point. The human is giving me a migraine. Captain Rin muttered. The crowd had swelled to at least 50 beings now, with more arriving every minute. Someone had started a betting pool on whether Jake was telling the truth. The odds were apparently 60-40 that he was completely making everything up, but nobody wanted to risk being wrong about the dragon thing. Jake was about to launch into his explanation of the anchor tattoo's second drowning incident when a familiar voice cut through the chaos. What the hell is going on here? The crowd parted again, and Jake's face split into a genuine grin. Amy Chen, and yes, different person from any Sarah Chen. He'd have to make that clear. If anyone asked, pushed through the masses with the confidence of someone who dealt with station politics for 3 years and was thoroughly done with it. Amy was human, obviously, with dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail and an expression that said she'd just come off a double shift and wasn't in the mood. She was also Jake's best friend, favorite co-conspirator, and the person most likely to call him an idiot to his face. Amy, perfect timing. I'm famous now. You're an idiot now. What did you do? Showed everyone my tattoos. Amy's eyes narrowed. Then she looked at the crowd. Then at the holographic reporter. Then at Chancellor Morp's puffed-up feathers. Then back at Jake. Oh no. Oh yes. You told them the stories, didn't you? I might have embellished slightly. Jake, we talked about this. We specifically talked about how other species might not understand human sarcasm or hyperbole. In my defense, I didn't expect it to go this far. Amy rubbed her temples. How far did it go? He claims to have fought a dragon in a grocery store. Shouted someone from the crowd. Navigated underground tunnels by smell. Added another. Survived atmospheric re-entry twice. Jake winced. Okay, I don't remember saying that last one. It was implied from the Phoenix story. Crystal called out. Amy turned to Jake with the look she reserved for moments when he'd really, truly, screwed up. You told them about a Phoenix? I didn't say I survived atmospheric re-entry. I said the Phoenix did its rebirth thing. They inferred the re-entry part. Oh my god. Also, there might have been something about a kraken. Jake. And the butterfly thing got a little out of hand. Amy. Froze. The butterfly? Our matching butterflies? Yep. What did you tell them about the butterfly? That it's the most dangerous creature on Earth. Amy stared at him. The crowd stared at both of them. Luminara's camera drone zoomed in for a close-up. And then Pip, bless their curious little tentacles, squeaked out the observation that changed everything. You have the same butterfly. The same exact butterfly. Every eye, sensor, and visual organ swiveled to Amy's wrist, where an identical monarch butterfly tattoo sat in the same spot as Jake's. The crowd gasped collectively. Kronk stepped forward, his voice hushed with awe. You fought the same butterfly together? Amy's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Jake couldn't help himself. He started laughing. Not a little chuckle. A full, bent-over, tears streaming down his face laugh that he couldn't stop if he tried. Jake, Amy said warningly. Jake, don't you dare. But it was too late. The laughter had broken him, shattered his ability to maintain the straight face he'd been holding for hours. He laughed until he couldn't breathe, until his sides hurt, until he was sitting on the floor with his head in his hands, absolutely losing it. Torres? Captain Rin asked cautiously. Are you having a medical emergency? He's broken, Dr. Filbert observed. The stress of survival finally caught up to him. No, Amy said, and her voice had gone flat in that way that meant Jake was going to pay for this later. He's just realized he's an idiot and can't keep lying anymore. Jake looked up, still grinning like a maniac, his face red from laughter. Amy, I can't do it anymore. This is too good. What are you talking about? Chancellor Morp demanded. Jake wiped his eyes and took a deep breath. Okay, I have a confession to make. The station held its collective breath. The tattoos aren't battle scars. Silence. They're just art. The silence lasted approximately 3 seconds before everyone started talking at once. Art? Kronk's voice boomed over the chaos. You mean decorative markings? Yep, Jake said, still grinning. Just pictures we put on ourselves because we think they look cool. But the dragon, Crystal protested. The grocery store battle never happened. I got the dragon because dragons are awesome and I was 22 and had just gotten my first real paycheck. Jake pointed to the serpentine design. Cost me 300 credits and 4 hours in a chair. The most dangerous thing that happened was I almost passed out because I forgot to eat lunch. Dr. Filbert's colors were cycling so fast he looked like a disco ball. The Phoenix Fire? Thought it looked sick. Got it after watching a movie about firebirds. My apartment was fine. I mean, the smoke detector went off once when I burned popcorn, but that's unrelated. The compass rose? Velna's voice was small. The Death Maze navigation? Got it because I liked traveling and thought the design was meaningful. Jake shrugged. The only maze I've navigated recently was an IKEA, and I used a map like a normal person. What's an IKEA? Pip asked weakly. Furniture store. Long story. The point is, none of these are battle scars. They're just tattoos. Personal expression. Art we wear on our bodies because we can. The crowd stared at him like he'd just announced he was actually 3 smaller humans in a trench coat. Kronk's face went through several emotions, confusion, betrayal, disbelief, before landing on something that might have been respect, or might have been the desire to throw Jake out an airlock. You permanently mark your body. For aesthetics? Yeah, pretty much. Not for identification, not for rank, not for kill counts or survival records or medical history? Nope. Just because we want to. That's... Kronk searched for words. That's insane. That's humans, Amy added helpfully, shooting Jake a look that promised a very long conversation later. She held up her wrist, showing off her butterfly. We got matching tattoos because we're best friends, and we survived our first year working in space together, not because we fought a butterfly. Because we thought it would be a nice memory. You survived together? Pip's eyes were still wide. We survived bureaucracy, homesickness, and the terrible coffee in Sector 3, Amy said, the normal kind of surviving. Not the dragon kind. There is no dragon kind, Jake added. There are no dragons on Earth. They're mythological creatures we made up. You made them up? Luminara's light show pulsed with what might have been outrage or excitement. You create imaginary predators for entertainment? And then get them tattooed on our bodies, yes. That's exactly what we do. Chancellor Morp's feathers had flattened completely, which made him look deflated and somehow more bird-like. Let me understand this correctly. You allowed me to call a formal inquiry, terrorized Dr. Filbert. inspired Kronk to write what I'm certain will be an embarrassing field report, and created a sector-wide incident. Over decorative body art? When you put it that way, it sounds bad, Jake admitted. It is bad. In my defense, I didn't expect everyone to take it so seriously. You told them you fought a dragon. I thought the sarcasm was obvious, Amy snorted. Jake, you told them with a straight face that you navigated underground tunnels using your sense of smell. The Detroit subway does smell very distinctive. That's not the same thing. Pip wiggled forward, looking between Jake and Amy with an expression that was far too thoughtful for a kid. So humans just put pictures on themselves? Forever? Yep, Jake confirmed, even though it serves no survival purpose. Especially because it serves no survival purpose. But why? Jake and Amy exchanged glances. It was Amy who answered, her voice gentler now. Because we like them. Because they remind us of things that matter to us. Because art makes us happy, and humans like to carry happy things with us wherever we go. The dragon makes you happy? Pip sounded doubtful. The dragon makes me feel like a badass, Jake corrected. Different kind of happy. And this? Pip pointed tentatively at Jake's anchor. You said you nearly drowned 7 times. Okay, that one's partially true. I did almost drown once, whitewater rafting. That's a recreational activity where we ride rubber boats down dangerous rivers for fun. For fun? Dr. Filbert wailed. Yeah, but the anchor isn't about that. I got the anchor because I like sailing, and I grew up near the ocean, and anchors represent stability and home. It's symbolic. So the broken bones marking? Kronk asked, pointing at the tribal patterns. Just thought the design looked cool. All my bones are fine. Well, except for the ankle thing from skateboarding, but that healed normally. The butterfly is the most dangerous creature on Earth, Crystal said slowly. Was a complete fabrication. Butterflies are actually pretty chill, Jake admitted. They're pollinators. They help plants reproduce. They're good for the ecosystem. Then why did you say, because I was committed to the bit? Jake threw up his hands. Look, I started telling stories, and everyone was so into it, and I just kept going. I didn't think. You never think, Captain Wren interrupted. That's your whole problem, Torres. You just do things. That's fair. This entire incident is going in your permanent record. Also fair. You're paying for Dr. Filbert's therapy sessions. Wait, that seems less fair. Dr. Filbert had settled into a pale blue color that suggested either calm or resignation. It's fine. I was overdue for therapy anyway. This station is very stressful. Chancellor Morp clicked his beak several times, which his translator rendered as annoyed clicking sounds because sometimes the technology knew when words weren't sufficient. Engineer Torres, you have wasted approximately 4 hours of station time, caused a diplomatic incident, and made me look foolish in front of the Galactic News Network. To be fair, Luminara didn't have a press permit, so technically, I'm fining you 2 weeks' pay for disturbing the peace. 2 weeks? Come on. Would you prefer a month? 2 weeks is very reasonable. Thank you, Chancellor. Morp turned to address the crowd, his official voice activated. This incident is concluded. Humans do not, I repeat, do not pose a danger to station's safety based on decorative body modifications. All personnel return to your duties. Luminara, you're being escorted off the station. But the story is over. Security. The crowd began to disperse, muttering among themselves. Jake caught fragments of conversation. Can't believe we fell for it. Humans are still weird, though. Permanent body art for no reason? That's somehow worse than battle scars. I kind of want one now. Kronk approached Jake, all 4 arms crossed. For a long moment, he just stared down at the human who'd made a fool of him. Then he laughed. A deep, booming laugh that shook the deck plating. You have the warrior's spirit after all, human Jake Torres. Not for battle, but for the art of the tale. He clapped Jake on the shoulder hard enough to make him stumble. You spun a story and held an audience captive. That takes courage. Or stupidity, Amy muttered. Often they are the same thing, Kronk agreed. I am not angry. I am impressed, and also questioning everything I know about human culture. That's the human experience, Jake said. Constant questioning. Kronk nodded solemnly. I shall write my report with this new understanding, though I still maintain that permanently marking yourself for aesthetics is terrifying in its own way. Why? Amy asked curiously. Because it means humans will modify their own bodies permanently on a whim, without practical purpose, simply because they wish to. Kronk's eyes gleamed. That is the action of a species that fears nothing, not even permanence. He walked away, leaving Jake and Amy standing in the dispersing crowd. Amy punched Jake in the arm. "You're an idiot." "Ow! I know. 2 weeks' pay, Jake. Worth it." Was it, though? Jake looked around at the remaining aliens, still stealing glances at his arms, still processing the revelation. He saw Pip being led away by Velna, the kid's tentacles waving goodbye. He saw Dr. Filbert finally returning to his normal teal color. He saw Captain Rin shaking her head but almost smiling. "Yeah," Jake said. "Totally worth it." Amy sighed. "Come on, we still have that shift to finish, and you're buying me coffee for a month." "That wasn't part of the Chancellor's punishment. It's part of mine. I had to watch you dig yourself into that hole. You could have stopped me earlier. And missed the look on your face when you realized how deep the hole was? Never." They started walking toward the maintenance bay, Jake still grinning despite everything. "Hey, Amy. What? Think anyone actually believed the thing about atmospheric re-entry?" "Jake, I swear to God," a voice called out from behind them. "Excuse me. Humans!" They turned to find a nervous-looking Pentarian clutching a datapad. "Yes?" Amy asked cautiously. "I'm with the Galactic Cultural Database. Could we possibly schedule an interview about human body modification practices? This is apparently a significant gap in our records." Jake's grin returned. "Oh, you want to know about tattoos? Because let me tell you, we also have this thing called piercings." Amy grabbed his arm. Nope, we're done for today. Email us. We'll never respond. Goodbye." She dragged Jake away, leaving the confused Pentarian behind. "You're no fun," Jake complained. "I'm plenty fun. I'm just not 'cause a station-wide incident fun. That's the best kind of fun, though. 2 months of coffee." "What? You said 1 month?" "I'm raising the price for continued stupidity." Jake laughed, and despite everything, the incident report, the disappointed looks from Captain Rin, he couldn't bring himself to regret any of it. Well, maybe a little bit, but only a little. 3 days later, Jake thought the whole thing had finally blown over. The station had moved on to other gossip, mainly about how someone in Sector 12 had tried to brew Earth coffee at 5 times the normal strength, and created what Dr. Filbert was calling a biological hazard in liquid form. Jake was underneath a malfunctioning air filtration unit, wrench in hand, when he heard the familiar clicking of multiple legs on deck plating. "Torres, we need to talk." He slid out from under the unit to find Chancellor Morp standing there, looking somehow more exhausted than usual. Behind him stood Kronk, Dr. Filbert, Captain Rin, and surprisingly Pip and Velna. "Is this an intervention?" Jake asked, sitting up. "Because I haven't told any elaborate lies in at least 72 hours. That's a personal record." "Not an intervention," Morp said wearily, "though perhaps it should be. No, we have a situation." "What kind of situation?" Kronk stepped forward, looking almost embarrassed. "After your revelation about tattoos being purely decorative, I may have mentioned in my cultural report that humans willingly inflict permanent body modifications for aesthetic purposes. Yeah, I mean, that's accurate. The report was filed with the Galactic Anthropological Society. Okay? Okay. It has been read by 17 million beings across 40 systems. Oh, humans are now trending as the most fascinating species in the sector, Dr. Filbert added, his coloring a mixture of bemused green and anxious yellow. There are 347 requests for interviews, 12 documentary proposals, and 1 marriage proposal from a species that finds your disregard for self-preservation attractive. Jake blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "The marriage proposal is from a Volathan," Captain Rin explained, looking like she wanted to be literally anywhere else. "They value boldness. Apparently, permanently marking yourself for no practical reason is considered the height of boldness. I'm flattered, I think, but I'm going to have to pass on that. Already declined on your behalf," Morp said. "The point is, your little incident has created what I can only describe as a cultural fascination with human body modification practices. And that's bad because it's not bad," Velna interjected, her voice soft. "It's actually quite wonderful. But it's also raised some questions." Pip wriggled forward, eyes bright with curiosity. "Can anyone get tattoos? Or only humans?" Jake looked at the assembled group, suddenly understanding where this was going. "Oh no. Oh yes," Captain Rin said, with a hint of satisfaction at his discomfort. "Pip has been asking about tattoos non-stop for 3 days, Velna explained. About art, about personal expression, about what it means to carry something meaningful with you permanently. And I told them absolutely not," Velna continued. "They're far too young for permanent body modifications. But," Pip interjected excitedly, "Mom said maybe when I'm older, If I still want to, and if I understand what it means, I could consider temporary markings first. Jake felt something warm and uncomfortable in his chest. That's actually really responsible parenting, Velna said, but she was almost smiling. The point is, you've accidentally started a conversation about art and self-expression that's spreading across the station. Species that never considered decorative modifications are now asking questions about meaning and permanence and personal identity. I accidentally did something good? Jake asked, suspicious. Don't let it go to your head, Captain Rin warned. Too late, already there. Kronk cleared his throat, which sounded like rocks in a tumbler. I also have a confession. I may have been considering a tattoo myself. Everyone turned to stare at him. What? Kronk's scales flushed slightly darker. The humans spoke of carrying meaningful symbols. My people have war paint, but it washes away. The idea of a permanent mark honoring fallen comrades has appeal. That's actually beautiful, man, Jake said quietly. Do not make this emotional. Too late. I'm already emotional. This is happening. Dr. Filbert wobbled forward. I've been researching human body modification extensively since the incident. From a medical perspective, I'm horrified. From an artistic perspective, I'm fascinated. You inject ink beneath the skin and it just stays there? Forever? Pretty much, yeah. Terrifying. Amazing. I want to study the healing process. I feel like a lab rat right now. You brought this on yourself, Captain Rin said unsympathetically. But I'll admit, watching everyone process human weirdness has been the most entertaining thing to happen on this station in years. Chancellor Morp sighed, his feathers ruffling. The Galactic Cultural Database has formally requested that we establish a Human Culture Information Center on the station, with you as the primary consultant. Me. I'm just a maintenance engineer who tells elaborate lies. Yes, but you've accidentally become the face of human cultural education in this sector. The database believes your approach, while unorthodox and occasionally infuriating, has generated more genuine interest in human culture than decades of formal documentation. Jake processed this. So I'm being rewarded for making stuff up? You're being asked to tell the truth this time, Morp corrected. With supervision. Extensive supervision. So much supervision. I'll supervise, Amy's voice called out. She emerged from behind a support beam, datapad in hand. I heard there was a meeting about Jake's latest disaster. It's not a disaster if it turns out well, Jake protested. It's still a disaster. Just a disaster with a happy ending. She looked at Morp. What's the pay for this cultural consultant position? We're prepared to offer a 15% stipend increase. 20%. Or Jake keeps doing this unsupervised. That's blackmail. That's negotiation. 20%. Morp's feathers puffed up in indignation, then slowly deflated. Fine. 20%. But Torres is financially responsible for any additional incidents. Deal, Amy and Jake said simultaneously. Pip bounced excitedly. Does this mean you'll teach us more about human culture? The real version? Jake knelt down to the young Fluvian's level. Yeah, little dude, I can do that. And hey, I'm sorry about the whole butterfly thing. I got carried away with the story. It's okay, Pip said. The real story is better anyway. You and Amy got matching pictures because friendship matters to you. That's cooler than fighting a butterfly. Kid's got a point, Kronk rumbled. When you're older, Jake said seriously. If you still want to learn about tattoos and what they mean, you come find me. I'll tell you the truth about why people get them. The real reasons, not the dragon stuff. Promise? Promise. Velna placed a wing arm on Pip's shoulder. Thank you, Engineer Torres. For the chaos, somehow. That might be the nicest thing anyone said about my chaos. The group began to disperse, returning to their duties. Kronk clasped Jake's shoulder one more time. I look forward to your cultural sessions, human. Try to lie less. I'll do my best. Dr. Filbert wobbled past. I'm still processing the fact that you voluntarily inject ink into your skin. I'll never be okay with it, but I respect it. That's all I can ask for, Doc. Captain Rin was the last to leave. She fixed Jake with a long stare. 20% stipend increase. Don't make me regret this. Captain, when have I ever? Don't finish that sentence. Just try to be responsible. Occasionally. I can do occasionally. That's what worries me. She left, leaving Jake and Amy alone in the corridor. So, Amy said, grinning. Cultural consultant. I'm terrified. You should be. You're going to have to actually research stuff now. No more making things up. But making things up is my best skill. Your best skill is accidentally stumbling into success. We're just formalizing it now. She pulled up her sleeve, showing her butterfly tattoo. Think we started something good here? Jake looked at his own matching butterfly, then at the dragon, the phoenix, the compass, all the ink he'd collected over the years, each one a story, each one a choice, each one a piece of art he'd decided to carry forever. Yeah, he said. I think maybe we did. They started walking back toward the maintenance bay, their shift still unfinished. Hey, Jake? Yeah? What's the appendectomy scar story you mentioned? You never actually explained that one. Jake stopped walking, looked at Amy. A slow grin spread across his face. Well, funny story about that. See, the appendix is this organ humans have that serves basically no purpose, and sometimes it just tries to kill you. Jake? No. And they have to cut you open to remove it before it explodes. Jake? No. It's a surgery most humans survive. But technically it's still surviving something from somewhere down the corridor. They heard Dr. Filbert's panicked voice. What do you mean human organs randomly try to kill them? Amy grabbed Jake's arm. Run! Run right now! They ran, laughing, as behind them the sounds of renewed chaos echoed through Harmony Station. Some things, Jake reflected, never changed. And honestly, he wouldn't have it any other way.